It's true, I'm being forced to make this deck profile. Let's get started. Alright, quick little backstory. A few months ago, me and my pal Tostado, this guy, had a bet. And the bet was that if he beats me using his Gold Paladin deck at any point during one of our many Vanguard local tournaments week by week, that I would make a Gold Paladin deck profile when the new cards came out. I'm not kidding you guys. Literally last week, I played Grand Blue Cocytus, and he got his hands on his Platina Ezels from the new set, and he put them in his deck, and the second he put those cards in his deck, he became indestructible. And in the final round of the tournament, we played against each other, and I lost. The story goes a bit deeper than that. If you want to ask me for the full story, leave them down in the comments below, or come follow me on Twitch, and I'd be more than happy to rage out on you guys. But, my word's my word, and I will make this deck profile, and I will do it right. Welcome back, everyone, to the TrueChampionSteven channel. My name is Steven Rodriguez. I'm your True Champion, and today, we're building Gold Paladins. Let's get started. Alright, if you're new here and you don't know what we do on this channel, I do all kinds of deck profiles, meta-analysis videos, and of course, TCG tips for both the Cardfight Vanguard, Pokemon TCG, and really whatever TCG I feel like playing that week. So if you or someone you know are interested in these kinds of videos, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell for notifications, so that way you guys know when my videos go live for you. But now, with all this being said, and now that you know the stakes of this video, let's go ahead and get started with this deck profile. Alright everyone, here we are in Cardfight Area, my go-to program for testing and playing Cardfight Vanguard. Hopefully once Vanguard EX comes out, we can forego this trash program. But for now, this is all we got. As always, if you guys have any questions about this deck profile that I'm about to show you, don't be afraid to leave them down in the comments below, or come into my Twitch channel where I go live every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon, Pacific Standard Time, sometimes on the weekends, and you guys can just come, ask me questions, we can hang out. I love talking about this game, I love talking with all of you guys, and more importantly, I just would love to see you in there so we can have a grand old time. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. If you guys want to see a gameplay demonstration video of me using this deck, then all you gotta do is smash that like button. If this video gets 20 likes by this Monday, whatever day it is, then I will do a gameplay demonstration video for this deck. And this one would be pretty funny because, like I kind of already stated earlier, I've never really played Gold Paladin before, so it would be kind of a learning experience for both you and me. So it sounds like a fun time. So if you want to see this meme, all you gotta do is hit that like button. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Alright, so for starters here, Gold Paladin, the way it kind of plays now is a little bit different than when it first started. So when Gold Paladins first arrived on the scene in the V series, it was kind of a combo-y based deck that kind of just tried to superior ride Ezel and then use that momentum that it got from being on grade 3 way before your opponent to then steamroll advantage and then steamroll pressure. That was kind of all it did. But later on, it got the tools of Raven-haired Ezel, which was kind of a really cool mid-game to late-game finisher that really pressured the opponent as a Vanguard whilst having other multiple rearguard attacks. Awesome. But now, thanks to the V-Bt05 box, we have Platina Ezel, which this card really feeds into the good old-fashioned classic multi-attack idea of Gold Paladin. You superior call units from your deck to then get more attacks during your turn that your opponent wasn't ready for or didn't see coming. That's kind of the idea of Platina Ezel here, and I actually like this combo a lot. All three of these Ezels, we play all three of them, and they all have their own purposes, and we'll go ahead and go through them right now. So first of all, we got 4 Blonde Ezel, the main one. Ability, if you don't know what he does, it's if you have a Knight of Superior Skills Bowman, a Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth on your Vanguard or Rearguard circle, cost Soul Blast 1 Crimson Lion Cub Criff. Ride this card as stand, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or less, this unit gets drive -1 until end of turn. Super cool effect. Being able to superior ride while your opponent is a grade 1 almost all the time is pretty busted if you go first. Even if you get that -1 drive check, you get like a 3 Excel 2 marker, which lets you draw a card, and then you get that extra attack thanks to Blonde Ezel's second effect, which is when it attacks, you may call a card from your hand to Rearguard circle. Super cool way to get an extra mini attack during the turn. Some other skills can make that spiral into more and more attacks. As we go on, I'll go over some neat little combos that we can do later on. That's what this guy does. He's kind of the main idea, the main guy that you want to ride first. That's why we play 4 of him. He doesn't really do anything besides being a really consistent superior ride, plus all the cards that superior ride in this deck, superior ride into him, and nothing else. Also, you want plenty of grade 3s in Soul, or specifically you want him in Soul to activate other effects. Moving on, we got Raven-haired Ezel, which was a weird order they went. They went Blonde Ezel, Raven-haired, and then they went Platina. But in the show, it went technically we never got Raven-haired Ezel, but whatever in the show. But it was Blonde Ezel, then Platina, and then eventually Raven-Haired came out. But because Raven-Haired was in the manga, that's what this is. So anywho, Raven-Haired Ezel, act from hand if your Vanguard is Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel, cost +1, and ride this card as stand. So it's actually a second Superior Ride. So what's really cool is, on the turn that you Superior Ride this, if you have a second Counterblast open, you can actually Superior Ride Raven-Haired Ezel that same turn, get another Excel 2 marker, and you actually get to keep your Twin Drive. So what's really cool is, when your opponent's at grade 1, you can actually have 2 Excel markers, 2 front row rear guards, and a Vanguard with Twin Drive. Plus, you draw 2 extra cards, so you don't really lose out on losing these grade 3s from your hand, and that's pretty busted. Also, keep in mind that Blonde Ezel and Raven-Haired Ezel, for their skills to activate, they need to be in the hand. For Wonder Ezel's skill, it does not. So I'll get more into that once we get there. But Raven-Haired Ezel is a really neat way to Superior Ride and keep advantage and keep the pressure on. But moving on, his second attack, which is the real reason why we play him, is when it attacks, if Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel is in your soul, cost Counterblast 1 until end of that battle. This unit gets power plus 15k, critical +1, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from his or her hand. So it's basically a guard restrictor that gains crits for free. It's a free waterfall that just attacks your opponent and pressures them really hard. It's a really nice way to be Vanguard pressuring while also having really pressuring rear guards in the sense that you have a lot of them. So Raven-Haired Ezel was actually a really great finisher for this deck for a long time, but we're playing less of it now because he is not as important to the main win con of this deck anymore. He's kind of just there that if you ride him, you ride him, or if you want him in the matchup, you want him in the matchup, or if you want to accelerate that extra grade 3 that turn, that's why we play him. Because we have Platina Ezel now. Blazing Lion, Platina Ezel. Let's talk about this guy's effect. He only has 1 skill, but it's pretty busted. It's an axe skill, Counterblast 1, and change this turn's first drive check to look at the top 2 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 from among them in your trigger zone, and call one of them to rearguard circle. So let me go over what this skill does, basically. So you would Counterblast 1 before you attack. You announce your Vanguard attack. Your opponent guards. When you go to do your drive check, this is when your skill changes. So instead of just checking the top card and being like, look, I got a trigger, you now go look at the top 2 cards. You get to look at them. Your opponent can't see them. You look at them. You pick one of them to Superior Call to the rearguard circle, and then you put the other one in the trigger zone. So it's essentially like a twin drive that you get to Superior Call one of the cards and put the other card in the trigger zone, and then you perform your second drive check after that. However, the second part of the skill is, if your soul has 2 or more grade 3 cards, change the second drive check of that turn and more as well. So basically, if you only have 1 grade 3 in soul or 0, you look at the first drive check, first 2 cards, call 1, trigger zone. But if you have 2 or more in soul, look at 2, call 1, trigger, look at 2, call 1, trigger, and that's it. That's your twin drive. So essentially, if you have 2 or more cards in your soul with grade 3s, it's essentially a quad drive where you Superior Call 2 of the units. That's basically the way to think about it. The first effect is a triple drive, Superior Call 1 of the units. The full effect is quad drive, Superior Call 2 of the units. Is an easy way to kind of think about it. But note that you do check you do still check the triggers one at a time. So for example, if I get 2 triggers off this, I would go look the top 2, call 1, trigger, apply trigger effects, and then look the next 2, call 1, trigger effects. Okay, so that's kind of how this effect works. It's really confusing when you just like kind of read it, so that's why I'm doing a good job of trying to really explain it to you guys. If you're still confused, don't worry about it. If you ever play against the deck or play with it, it'll make more sense once you actually do it. But this card's pretty busted. It's just kind of the idea of it, because he adds this thing that Gold Paladin's been lacking for a really long time in this deck, or in this format I should say, which is the multi-attack idea. This deck doesn't really multi-attack. It's kind of just like whatever your Excel circles are, those are your attacks. But thanks to this, you can like go Excel Weenie attack, have your Hoels or whatever, and then you can just kind of like board flood in the middle of your battle phase, which is so insane. Also, another cool thing that Platina Ezel adds that I feel like this deck was lacking was resource management. Now, if your opponent just kind of like board wipes you or attacks your rear guards and tries to deny you counterblast, you can actually get back in the late game and Superior Call units to empty rearguard circles and then refill your board thanks to this card. So I really like the value that this card is adding to the play style of this deck. This 10 grade 3 lineup isn't perfect or ideal, I don't think. I think it's perfect because I don't think Raven-Haired Ezel is nowhere near as good as it used to be. I think Platina and Blonde are by far the most important cards in this deck. Also, if you would like to change it, I definitely would recommend maybe cutting a Platina Ezel for a third Ravenhaired if you wanted to. That's probably the only cut that I could see making, because you never really want to go less than 4 Blonde, because he is the most important grade 3. You need to see him in your hand pretty much all the time, or at the very least have plenty of ways to get him. So I definitely like having the maximum 4 copies for this, but Platina you don't need 4 of. You can definitely get away with 3 for sure, and then still run like 3 Ravenhaired. That's totally fine. But right now, this is the split that I like. I believe my friend Matt was playing 4. I want to say 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. I don't remember. But this feels good to me. Anywho, moving on to the grade 2s, kind of actually a really neat combination of cards, because 8 of these cards are, their main purpose is just to, superior ride our other units, but they do have other effects as well, which is pretty cool. So let's talk about the first one. Knight of Superior Skills Bowman. This is the card that you need to have on Vanguard or Rearguard with Blonde Ezel skill to activate. So his effect is, when placed, Vanguard, Rearguard, discard a card from your hand, search your deck for up to 1 Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth, and call it to Rearguard Circle and shuffle your deck. Here's Knight of Skills Gareth right here, so you guys can look at him. So these are the 3 cards that you need in order to have Blonde Ezel skill activate. We already have Crimson Lion Cub Criff as our grade 0, so he'll always be in the soul. Alright, and then its second effect is, when placed by your card's ability, this unit gets plus 3,000 power until end of turn. Super cool effect, actually. Really lets you hit some cool numbers. Lets you hit 17 if you Spirit Call him from the hand, or from anywhere, actually, against other Excel or Protect decks. So actually a really nice little beater as a Rearguard Circle, too, if you need him to be. So that's kind of it for Bowman. He's pretty simple. He's basically in here just to be the guy that searches for Gareth and then lets you Superior Ride from your hand. That's his effect, basically. That's his purpose. Next up, we got Flame Wind Lion Wonder Ezel. Way broken card, but let's talk about why. Act Soul Blast and retire a Crimson Lion Beast Hoel. That's or like Howl, if you want to say it. It'll be more confusing if I say Hoel. So it's like Howl. Think of Howl with this guy on your Rearguard Circle. Search your deck for up to 1 Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel, write it as stand, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn, and shuffle your deck. When placed, you may call a card from hand or Rearguard Circle. So a really broken thing that you can do, and you can do this, by the way, I double checked, is if you have Wonder Ezel on your Vanguard, Howl in your hand, Bowman, Blonde Ezel, and like I think 1 or 2 other cards, I think it's 2 other cards, you can actually Superior Ride 3 times. Let me talk about this. So you have Wonder Ezel on Vanguard. You have Hoel here. You use their effect to Superior Call a Blonde Ezel from the deck. You then get an Excel 2, you draw a card. Then you use Bowman. You call Bowman from hand. You use Bowman's effect, discard a card, Superior Call Gareth. You use an Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel from your hand's effect, Soul Blast Lion Cub Criff, Superior Ride, Excel 2, draw a card. Then, if you have an open Counterblast, which you might, you use the effect of Ravenhaired Ezel, Counterblast 1, and you ride this card as stand from your hand on top of a Blonde Ezel. Boom. That is 3 rides in 1 turn, 3 Excel markers, and your opponent could be at grade 1. That is a busted conjunction of cards, and you've always been able to do this since these 4 cards or 5 cards have come out. But what's really funny is, after you get all these Excel markers, what used to suck was that you never could fill them up. You would always have just trash or triggers in your hand. You wouldn't want to commit those to board. But now what you can do is the turn after that, you ride Platina Ezel, and then you can Superior Call 2 units every single turn during your battle phase, so those Excel markers, and then you just blow up your opponent 3 turns in a row when they're at grade 2. So it's kind of actually busted. So definitely be on the lookout for something super broken like this. Wonder Ezel does have a second effect as well. When placed, you may call a card from your hand to Rearguard Circle as a Rearguard effect. So what's really cool is actually this procs a lot of effects in the deck, similar to how Bowman gains 3k. Crimson Lion Cub Hoel doesn't have anything. I don't believe you do. I do play Dindrain, so Dindrain would proc, and then I believe that's about it. Oh wait, you could proc Hoel, I guess, but we don't need to. So Ezel having that ability to call rear guards is just an extra way to get a free unit in play that turn. So what's really cool is when you call this off of, say, this, you can actually get another unit for free. A really nice way to keep extending attacks for the turn. And then finally, we have a brand new card. Advance of the Black Chains, Kahedon. When placed, counterblast 1, and discard a card from your hand. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Call 1 among them to the Rearguard Circle, shuffle your deck, and if Stronghold of the Black Chains, Hoel, is on your Vanguard or Rearguard, draw a card. That's this card. So obviously these two cards combo very well together. You almost always want to play this card and then play this one. This is better than Vivian because you can actually plus off of him. You can't really plus off of Vivian in the same way that you can off of Kahedon. Plus, you really want to be playing Hoel. So if you're playing Hoel, you may as well be playing Kahedon as well. That's kind of it. He's like our third grade 2 that extends combos, extends superior calls and superior attacks, as well as draws you cards every now and then. So that's super cool. Okay, moving on to grade 1s. We've got, like I said, Crimson Lion Beast Hoel, or Howl, if you want to call him that to make it easier for you to distinguish these two cards, because this is Hoel, this is Howl. It's really confusing and stupid, but whatever. At the end of the battle, that it boosted, if you have a Vanguard with Ezel in its name, which you almost always will, Counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to Rearguard Circle. Again, another way just to keep calling cards and extending combos. We wouldn't normally play 4 of this card, but because we want to almost always get Wonder Ezel off when we can, maximize the chances of getting this card off, we need both of them in our hand to do that. So by playing more of them, we get to do that more often. Moving on, we got Stronghold of Black Chains Hoel. He's probably my favorite grade 1 in this deck, to be honest with you, because he does the most of any single grade 1 in here, which is awesome. So when your other unit is placed in the same continuous rearguard, by the way, when your other unit is in the same column as this unit was placed this turn, it gets power plus 5k. If Advanced Chains of the Black, whatever, Kahedon, is on your Vanguard or Rearguard, it gets plus 10k power instead of 5. So like I said, thanks to Platina Ezel, we'll be superior calling a lot of units all the time. And a lot of times we'll be having a full board, so we'll have to attack with weenies before we actually superior right on top of them. So having Black Chains Hoel to constantly give units that come into play in the same column as it, plus 10k or plus 5k power, we get more attacks, even if it's just like a grade 1 or something. Essentially, Hoel is another Excel marker that we have in our back row. You never really want to call these guys to Excel circles. You almost always want to call them like back here, so that way you can have like extra Excel markers essentially, because every unit that comes out of the deck that comes from this circle will get 5k power all the time. So it's really really cool. Let's put you on the bottom of the deck. Perfect. So I really like this card a lot. He actually adds a lot to the power. I don't believe it stacks. So for example, if I called 2, they wouldn't get plus 10k each. But like, you wouldn't want to call 2 units to the same column anyway, because then one of them won't even get to attack. So having 2 Hoels like on these 2 back row rearguard circles right here, like right here and right here, is the most ideal place for them. And that's why we play 4 of them, because the sooner we get them there, the better, because those just stay there the whole time. And then everything else almost always goes on Excel circles, and then nothing really boosts the Vanguard, because we don't need it to boost the Vanguard almost ever. So there we go. Finally, we got 2 Knight of Skills Gareth. Basically, the reason why we only play 2 Gareth and 4 Bowmane is because Bowmane searches for Gareth, so essentially playing 4 Bowmane is playing 4 Gareth, and once you have the 1 Gareth in play, you can then get the Blonde Ezel Superior Ride, which is all you really need it for. So that's dope. Also, do keep in mind that you can only use this effect once, even though it's not once per turn, because you only have 1 Crimson Lion Griff. Alright, and then finally we got 1 Listener of Truth Din Drain. When placed, due to your card's ability, cost Soul Blast 1, you may draw a card or countercharge 1, and this unit gets power plus 5k until end of turn. So basically, what this card lets you do is you either draw a card or you countercharge 1 when you superior call it from your hand or from your deck, doesn't really matter how, and then you can gain resources. A really common way that this deck loses is that it doesn't really have any countercharge besides this 1 card, so your opponent can kind of abuse you and counterblast lock you, and every single skill you have that's worth using cost counterblast. So having that one little way to get it back in case your opponent ever wants to big brain you and stop you from counterblasting is really nice. Having Wonder Ezel to proc your Din Drain to then give you that countercharge is really nice. However, you don't have to play this if you don't want to. Frankly, I find that I get counterblast denied all the time, and even when I don't play Gold Paladin, so I definitely feel like I would definitely get counterblast denied if I was playing Gold Paladin, because that's how I would play against Gold Paladin. So that's how I built this deck. How would I beat someone who's as good as me, basically? So Listener of Truth Din Drain is how I did that. You could cut down like 1 Hoel here and then play a second one if you have to, because you don't really need 4 of this card. I like having 4 of it though, because I like calling it early, as early as possible actually. It's really helpful for that. Also, Gareth has an effect that says counterblast 1, gain 10k power. You almost never want to use this effect because it's really not worth it from the resources. You almost always want to call him up behind the Vanguard or on an Excel circle if you already have one. That's kind of the point of Gareth. He's a booster that's free and lets you Superior Ride. That's kind of all he does. He's basically an AK like he used to be. Anywho, moving on to the grade zeros. We've got 6 fronts, 2 crit, 4 draw, and of course 4 heal, and then of course line up Griff. So let's talk about this really quick. So I'm playing 6-2-4 because I feel like crits do add value to the deck in that it lets you get damage out of the way. Plus, front triggers are just busted in this deck because now that you have the ability to call a unit and then give it a front trigger skill, pretty busted. Second, front triggers are just super good when you have, I don't know, 4 or 5 Excel markers in play. So that's pretty busted as well. Finally, I'm playing the 2 crits because, like I said, sometimes your attacks aren't that strong. And your opponent, if they get like a damage trigger or something, can actually stop all of your attacks that are happening that turn, no matter how many you have. So having this crit to say, if they get a damage trigger, I would have liked it to be on a critical check, because then they took 2 damage instead of 1. I feel like I got enough damage in that turn. That's where these crits kind of come in handy. But the biggest problem with this deck is that its late game power is kind of lacking. So you don't want to get to late game that much, but if you're stuck in the late game, front triggers really pay off. So the front triggers make up for your lack of late game power, while the crits kind of make up for the fact that your early game is, really add to the fact that your early game is busted. So that's why I like this balance. You could do rainbow if you wanted to, like 4-4-4-4. I don't, however, think that's the best thing for you, because people are already going to assume that you're playing rainbow and guard more things, or not guard things because they don't think you're going to check a crit and stuff like that. But if you make them think you're playing rainbow, then that means they'll guard attacks that maybe they didn't have to. Is kind of the idea. So that's super cool. Finally, we got 4 draw because we need PGs, and then Mark is busted, and then 4 heals because heals are busted, and then finally Crimson Lion Cup Griff, our starter and our Superior Ride enabler. But guys, that does it for the Gold Paladin deck. Toasty, I hope you're happy. I hope you are pleased with this deck profile that I did for you. But anyway, guys, that will do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to let me know by leaving a like. If we hit 20 likes on this video, I will be doing a gameplay demonstration video for you guys using this deck. If you have any more questions, don't be afraid to leave them down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter. I do have a Twitter and an Instagram feed. Don't be afraid to follow it down in the description below. Links to all my stuff can be found there. Also, if you're interested in picking up this deck for yourself, I will be leaving links to all the sets and stuff like that on Amazon or various other websites that I could find them on as well. But anyway, guys, as always, I have been your true champion, Steven. Always remember to work hard, rest easy, and live well, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.